Welcome to another episode of Tanstwocents podcast. Today's episode is titled Matchmaking Sessions, Waste of Time or Goldmine? We're going deep into the world of GovCon networking events that promises connections, but often deliver confusion. I'm your host, Tanwilson, and with us today is my bestie, Stephanie Alexander, CEO and co-founder of GovMates and Boost LLC, companies that don't just attend events, but they dominate them. And that is no understatement. Stephanie, thanks for joining us here today and say hello to our listeners, the Intellectuals, and tell them a little bit about yourself and your companies.
Well, thank you for having me and for the kind words. Those are the kindest I think you've ever been. So I know I'm up for something good.
Yeah, something's
Uh,
off.
so bring it. Exactly. So I'm Stephanie Alexander. I have more years in GovCon than I want to admit, which I think is every person. I feel like every year in GovCon is like seven. It's like dog years,
It's
right?
like
So
dog
for every
years.
year, it's like seven. It's how it feels. Let me tell you. So, and I always tell people, you're never a little girl growing up saying, "Oh, I really want to get into federal contracting." But when you live in the DMV area, that's kind of one of the biggest industries around, and that's what we do. So I fell into it in early 2000s and have been here ever since, and now I just can't get out. I can't get out.
Yeah,
So
what's
I
that what's
started.
that movie they keep pulling me back in?
They do. And I feel like I'm freaking worthless outside of this industry because I'm like, oh my God, this is all I know. We speak in acronyms. We talk about weird things. Like, we're like, who in their right mind would do this crap, like, for a living? And I'm like, the answer is me and you and everybody else listening to this podcast. So here we are. Congratulate yourself or, rethink all of your life decisions. So my companies are, I have two, which means that I'm doubly crazy,
Hmm.
and going in and out of constant emails and flipping between both. They're both GovCon related because I'm too lazy to learn new people and new things, so industry specific. Boost really focuses on your G&A. So all the things that you're talking about from a corporate support perspective, notably the accounting side, contracts, pricing as it pertains to proposals, HR, recruiting, hiring, firing your people, that sort of thing. We most notably do not do proposals. We do not do business development or capture. And I can't spell IT, much less solve your freaking IT problems. So yeah, that's us. On the GovMates side, which is more applicable for this conversation, we are a matchmaking platform. I have a co-founder, my work wife, Katie, who we started the company, I feel it is 10 years now, so 2015, which is kind of impossible to believe. And we started honestly just trying to solve a problem. And what it was we were working for a veteran organization as volunteers, and people kept coming up to us and saying, I need an STB OSB that does blah, right? And we eventually were like, we got to develop a system. So we actually started a million years ago on an Excel sheet and would take people's capability and their past performance and what they were doing and the NAICS codes that they were competing against. And eventually, it was totally just something we did on the weekends. It was a passion project. Eventually, we were like, technology. And so we invested in our own software developers and came up with our unique platform called the GovMates platform. And that, my friend, is how we got into the biz and how I can talk to you about matchmaking.
Yes, and everyone who knows me that I have a love-hate relationship with matchmaking. So this shall be a very, very interesting conversation. For those intellectuals out there who are jaded, maybe Stephanie can convince you differently here on this conversation. So winning goals. But seriously, and this whole conversation is probably not going to be very serious at all throughout this because when the two of you and I are together, it's all hell on wheels. But before we dig in to the world of matchmaking madness, as I like to call it, I do have a funny question to ask you. But if you are stranded at a random airport for 12 hours with no Wi-Fi, no laptop, and only one carry-on item to keep you entertained. And okay, this scenario could be real life. Okay, this is actually real life scenario for me. What's in your bag and how would you
Somebody
survive
please
that
tell
layover?
me more and get the planes back working. Just note to self, if you're listening, somebody give the FAA their money back. We need more tower control people. Yes, this absolutely can happen. Pretty much anytime you're traveling during the summer. I think on real answer is I would get the hell out of the airport and go like see something or do something and like go eat whatever you're supposed to eat there or something like that. Because I'm motivated by food, and or seeing something. In reality, though, if you told me I had to stay in the airport and I only had one thing, I probably would go with, as much as noise canceling headphones sound like they'd be great, I probably would go with a really engrossing historical fiction-y type book. Something that got me out of the day-to-day life and got me inside my head to ignore my, probably one of the worst things that ever happens is just sitting there waiting at an airport, especially without Wi-Fi. I know that's a boring answer, but that's the answer. I probably would
No,
just like the ball and like want to die and just read my book. So yeah, I have
no,
zero patience
exactly.
for flight delays and traffic. So these are my two like main things where I'm just like,
And I think this is where you and I are the same, is that we're both big foodies. So I would find the most interesting restaurant or place to like go eat whatever, sit and watch people and drink for like my entire layover. So I always say that I'm going to work, but I always end up like having conversations because I find airports so incredibly interesting and the people who are there are so interesting.
I love the people watching for sure. But I also love when you're at the random thing and you experience like the good food that people are
Yep,
known for in that area, or if you can get out and Uber and like go see a thing and then come back, right? Like why not? Like so. So yeah,
exactly. All right,
take me
there
to
we got it.
like during the summer. I'll die.
Trust me, I got real life war stories that we can share with the intellectuals here later. But let's just dive into our first segment here, which is matchmaking real talk, setting the stage. I am truly skeptical when it comes to it. And I think you may be right. Maybe I haven't gone through like the right matchmaking experience. But for me, I feel that most of these sessions make me feel like speed dating with name tags and like zero follow ups. I get like totally ghosted. So, what gives, right? Like, talk to me about matchmaking and like how do you do it right?
Okay. So for perspective, there's different types of matchmaking, right? So take a step back. There's matchmaking by an agent, only that agency, and they want people to come in, small businesses, right? Usually these are the SPLOs. Half of them, probably not a lot of follow up, right? Especially if you just kind of got, you're in line, it's cattle call. It's like, oh, look, you do business. Oh, look, I'm an agency. And that's about all you have in common, right? The other half are know their stuff and know their program managers. And so if you have something that is compelling and hits on what they're looking for, they will be able to at least guide you to the next step. The entire purpose of this is just to get to the next step, right? Like nothing is going to change your life or your business in that business, or in that agency matchmaking. The government's doing less of these, I think, these days. They don't have the budgets, right? They're cutting the SPLOs. So we'll see if those are still going to be around in this next year or two. Then you have industry matchmaking. And this is generally found in conferences, and kind of like one-off, one day workshops, those types of stuff. Those usually have industry to industry, but occasionally we'll also bring in the govies, as well. And here's where I'm giving out secrets. Here's where it goes sideways. Nobody wants to do the freaking matchmaking. It's a pain in the ass. It is hard. Everybody's whiny. Everybody wants something. Everybody thinks that they're like the most amazing company that does nothing, that does what everybody else does, right? There's no differentiating factor between any of you people. And then you're just like, okay, I do cybersecurity or I do AI and I do machine
Right.
learning, right? Like everybody does that now, right? And so what happens here is they don't spend a lot of conference organizer, and it's not because they don't want to, but generally it's because of budget and because of time. They will shove like, okay, you know what, small business, you tell us who you would like to meet with. And every small
Mm,
business is like, I would like to meet with
right.
this with the
Yeah.
system integrator whose name my mom would recognize, right? Giving no thought whatsoever to whether or not that SI or mid large tier business does or needs what you do, giving no thought whatsoever to your business model, giving no thought to wrap rates and what pricing might look like, giving no thought to what their customer footprint is. Instead, small businesses are like, oh, I've heard of this company and therefore I want to meet with them,
Hmm.
right? No real thought on how there's going to be revenue and why it won't be a complete waste of your time. So when you allow people, the sellers in matchmaking speak, otherwise known as small businesses, to just choose whoever they want, you're not going to get a lot of really great turnout because
No.
people do the work, right? They're just like, oh, I know that company. I want to meet with them. Okay. If you
Why?
do it, but if you do matchmaking also based on NAICS code, right? Like there's a bajillion NAICS codes. Nobody cares, right? Like it's so vague and so broad that you can't really get a good like connection there, right? Like you can professional services, like bajillion things in there, right? IT standard. So where I think matchmaking is done well, and I will say that we do it well at GovMates, is because we take a buyer approach. And what do I
Okay.
mean by that? So in matchmaking speak, the buyer is either the government or the large integrator or the mid-tier, large tier, right? These are the people who have the money. Whoever has the money
Hmm.
drives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just simple, right? Like whoever has the ability to let the contract or is priming the contract and can control the capture strategy, all the things, right? Is actually putting together the proposal. Those are the people that drive. So we at GovMates, we don't try to make the small businesses happy. We believe in taking what the buyers want, right? And making the buyers happy. And if we make the buyers happy, they're going to have better conversations
Conversations.
with
Yeah.
what they're going to do. And this is what we do when we do matchmaking is give me your top like 3 to 5 things. Tell me what you're looking for, right? Some of these large guys, they're pipelining for 5 years out. They're pipelining
Hmm.
for the next G5. They're pipelining for next year, right? Or they're heads down and capture and they're like, oh crap, our favorite, fill in the box just fell through. So these people, they come to us and they have either very specific needs. I mean, sometimes so specific that you're like, oh, I'm not sure I got that. Or very broad needs depending on what they're looking for. We take those requirements and then we compare them to the sellers who are participating in matchmaking. And we will only match people if they actually, I know this is a foreign concept, if they only actually have what the buyer is looking for. Right then and there, the buyer is actually looking for something. The seller has it. What are the odds that this will be a better conversation? What are the
Stuff much
odds that
better.
this
Yeah.
versus like, oh, let me just sign up for somebody because I know of them.
Yeah.
How about so when buyer driven and requirement driven, then you're not wasting your time, small business, because I could tell you that you would make just as many connections networking outside the networking room than you would taking that precious, matchmaking opportunity if they're not buying what you're selling, if they don't need it.
That's fair.
You're just
That's
wasting your
fair.
time. You walk away
And
and you're like, what the heck?
that makes so much more sense. And it
It's
kind of
driven by the buyer.
yeah, it kind of reminds me, when I used to run political campaigns, and I don't know, you don't know this about me, but in my early 30s, I ran campaigns. And in politics, it's all about the voter. It's not about the candidate. And it seems kind of, counterintuitive or, what you think, but the really, really good electable candidates, the candidates that are really successful, are those that focus on the voter, what the voter wants, what the voter needs. They're going to be more successful. So I think that's kind of a really good analogy for how to make matchmaking successful.
Start with things that people actually need and want, and then have those things that people actually need and want. And then there's a whole bunch more that goes to it to make it successful. But at least if you start on the same common ground, you have
Yeah.
a much higher probability of having a successful match and not
Yeah.
wasting 12 to 15 minutes of your time and not being part of the herding of the cats, for lack of
Yeah. Fair enough. So let's dive a little deeper into this. And so, like in our second segment, we're going to talk about metrics, um, metrics that matter, and how do you measure like value. I talked a lot about value, value over importance, and being able to demonstrate your actual value to the customer. So let's talk return on investment. What counts as a win from a matchmaking session, and what's just kind of noise?
So when I tell you we do this for a living, we do this for a living and we come with the metrics to back it up, right? So if I'm a small business with a limited budget, limited time, just like every other person out there, what are the couple things for me to consider for if I'm going to attend a match? Travel. Do I need to am I at a conference? Is this local? And the ask factor on traffic. Did we talk about traffic? So, I mean, you have to think through all of this. In terms of ROI, what is the one thing you want? A next step, right? And the next step is, I remember this is just an initial, this is barely even a coffee date, right? Like you're just trying to get to the next step for action. So do not expect to leave there with a signed piece of paper, an NDA, a teaming agreement. That's not how it works. You want to make enough of an impression and figure out if it's worth having that next real conversation. You're not covered by NDA under this, so you need to make sure that you're still keeping it kind of close to the vest. And what you want to do is find out who is the right person within that organization, right? And what they want to find out is, do you actually know your stuff? Do you have the past performance? Will you help make a compelling capture strategy for this opportunity? Will you be value add, right? What is the value you are bringing to the table? And then are they the type of people that you want to do work with? Key takeaways, finding out no. Sometimes the best answer is finding out that it's not a good match and stop wasting your time, right? We all
So
just want
true.
clarity. We just want to sit here and like freaking be ambiguous, right? Like, I don't know, maybe, wishful. No. Sometimes the best answer is not a good fit. Perfect. I at least know that and I'm not going to waste any more of my time on that. Second best answer. I mean, that's not necessarily the best, but it's helpful. Is there is a strategy here. I may not be the person, but I know someone who is, and I'm going to get you in touch with that person. The best case scenario is you've got a program manager or somebody, acquisition person, who's like, oh my God, I need you on this team. And this happens sometimes, right? Like you fill a niche and I need to get you in front of my people, right? There's an energy and a buzz. It's not unlike
It's
dating.
like
There's an
chemistry.
energy
It's yeah,
that you're just like, oh, this, right?
yeah.
This, you have the thing that I need. I like you. You like me. A little bit of Barney. I need to get you. You want that buyer to leave that meeting going, damn, that was a good meeting. I really need to get
Mhm.
that person in front of my team. Like next week, when we're done with this conference, I need to get you
Yeah.
on and I'm sending you an email, right? Because despite what it may seem like, you're still there at that conference, assuming it is one, to work. And so if they really care, they will send you that email tonight, right? Or first thing in the morning.
So So I think the one thing that you said earlier that I think is so important is knowing ahead of time what is the optimal, what is the desired next step, right? And to have
Yeah,
realistic expectations, though. You're right. I think small businesses go into this thinking, oh my God, they're going to love me. How could they not love me? We've got everything that that they could possibly want. And they think that they're so rehearsed and everything like that. But it's like, the need always depends on the right timing, the right chemistry, and the right opportunity. And so, like, the next step could be like both ways. Like, you, small business, could walk out there and be like, you know what? You are not my cup of tea. I'm glad I know this
yeah.
now, and I'm going to like walk away, right? Like that, like, what is it? Like, she's not that into you, type of
Yeah.
statement. Like,
It's not
um,
that into you, right? So,
Exactly,
okay,
right? And so I think small businesses need to realize that sometimes too, it's okay for you to be the one that's like, yeah, I'm gonna walk away from that. Thanks. I appreciate this, whatever. But I think if you do your homework, you should know better. First of all, what,
your biggest, what do we all need more? Time, right? I don't have a
yeah,
lot of time. I
I
don't
ain't
have
got no
time to
time
play
for
around.
this.
I'm not like, I want to know, is there a future, right? And so sometimes having that connection or lack of connection is the clarity that you need. So walking
Hmm.
away with clarity is really what you're looking for, right? Clarity on, yes, there is a path forward and I should pursue, or clarity on, no way in heck, I'm not teaming with these guys. I'm not ever going to work with them, or, whatever. And I'm going to stop. Get it out of your head.
Hmm.
You're done. We're not
Right.
thinking about it anymore. It's off the pipeline. It's off the thing, right? Like, I no longer have to spend any energy thinking through this opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And
Clarity is
cut to
what
the
we're
chase,
striving.
get to the know. I am a big advocate of get to the know fast, so that I can move
Yeah,
on. But I think what it is people go into GovCon in a very emotional kind of way. And I know that you and I are two very expressive people, but we can be very unemotional about this business because we've got the battle wounds and the scars and like, I've got no emotion in this anymore. It's like, nope,
I have no feelings. Correct.
no,
Nobody
Tiffany
gives a shit.
Alexander, I have no feelings.
Nobody gives a shit. You are a whatever your socioeconomics check in the boxes, right? No one cares how you started your company.
I don't
No
care.
one cares that you're doing it for the warfighter. Like, nobody cares. I'm sorry, those are really horrible, harsh words, but get over yourself. No one cares. Business is still business, and it is led by who's going to make money. And I'm sorry, like, we all like promote in the industry, like, we do it for the warfighter, blah blah blah. And yeah, that's nice, but no, you're a for-profit organization. What are you? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you
I
have shareholders. Like, this is why we're in business. We're in business to
We
win
are not
you
running a
work. We're in
charity.
business to
Exact.
we're in business for the stockholders. Like, don't kid yourself. So,
Exactly.
like, patriotism is great and nice, but it's not winning. Winning is what you want, right? And then you can be patriotic.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can do all those nicey feely things. So anyways,
That feels
this is the unfilteredness that we love about you and me together, which is a pretty dynamic duo here.
sorry,
Um,
not sorry. But it's so
exactly.
true. Like, you're like, dear God, right? Like, stop talking about it. Think clarity, right? Have clarity. Have something that people actually want to buy. And oh, by the way, sell it at a price that people will pay. That's the other side of this. Is nobody. We all talk about capabilities and gee whiz bang, whatever the heck you have. Are you thinking about the pricing? Are you thinking about how you will go to market with it? Are you thinking about how you will invoice for it? I know those things aren't sexy, but you have to have this stuff figured out. And because
So,
it's one of the first and most important things.
so intellectuals, just in case you're keeping track, Stephanie has already moved to segment 3. We're going to talk
Sorry.
about like making the match and how to stand out.
Yes,
So
100%.
how like okay, so you've got your matchmaking. You've got 10 minutes. That's probably really excessive. I don't know. But
About
what
12.
works?
We do it
Okay.
in 15 minutes.
All
Yeah.
right. So we'll just call it
So,
10 minutes. So what
yeah.
works, what
Ideally, we
flops,
have 10.
what do decision makers like really care about? Like if you what are the key operative things that you need to get out in 10 minutes to be successful?
So, one of the ways that we do matchmaking that's different is, I think I shared with you, we do the buyer, right? But then we also go to our participants, small business participants, and we say, here's the thing they are looking for. So that's important, right? If I tell you they are interested in your cybersecurity, then you darn well better talk about cybersecurity within the first 30 seconds of the conversation. Again, nobody cares about your origin story. Nobody cares what socioeconomic class you are. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What
Too
can you
much
do for me
context to
today?
me is the kiss of death, right? Like people give way too much context. I don't give a crap. And that's like my clean
None,
version of saying I don't give a shit. But too much context, you've
100%.
you've lost me.
No. Like, also, our buyers, they do 8 meetings over 2 hours. That is 8 different companies to keep in our heads. That's 8 different conversations. That's 8 different new people. That's a lot of energy, right? So don't make it hard. Make it easy. Here's what I want to talk to you about. Here's where I think we can see ourselves aligned. Here's how I can help support your win strategy, right? What do you want to hear? I want to hear I want to win. I want to hear how you're going to help me. You're not a problem. You're not a pain in the ass. You're not going to give me something I have to think about. Make it easy for these buyers, right? And what does that entail? Doing your research. What are the contracts? Do some just basic research on the contracts they already have. What's on their press releases? What's in every freaking database, right? Like get some baseline intel where you can, and then how you can help them on what you think their business is, where you think you fit in, right? Do some LinkedIn stalking. Ask your peers, has anyone done work with XYZ company, right? You know they have. So like get the basics down and then go for the jugular. Here's how I can help you. Here's how I can help, strengthen your position. Here's capabilities I have that are complementary and don't compete. Here are capabilities that I have that enhance your offering. Here is the past performance that makes me credible. Here's the past performance that we can rely on in that section. Here are the customer relationships that I can bring to the table. Because quite honestly, the harsh reality is there's a million small businesses. And this is horrible and awful. And it's, it is a catch-22. How do I get ahead if I don't have past performance? How do I get past performance if I can't get ahead of contract, right? We get it. Stop whining. This is just how it goes in this industry. And so you have to be able to get that person to a yes, to say, yes, I want to move it to the next level. I want to introduce you to the capture team. I want to bring you in, right? That's where you're going.
No,
And people
this
click
because
or they don't.
I think we might actually have to have T-shirts made after this conversation. Um,
Stop your whining.
GovCon, there's no whining. No whining
No
in GovCon.
whining and
We
there's no
used to say that to our kids all the time. Like, so like my stepdaughter growing up, I was like, this is a wine-free zone. Okay. Like,
suck it up, Buttercup. It sucks. Nobody has ever said that GovCon was easy or that like that that it made a lot of sense or any of those things. No one's ever said that, right? So, but you chose you, and we all have free will.
yeah.
So here we are.
So, I think here's the root of I think the challenge and the issues with some small businesses. And I'm going to stereotype and generalize, and it's my show, so I can. But I think a lot of companies, when they come into GovCon, they do that with this like dollar sign type of like, oh my God, I'm going to cash in on the government, like on the government dime, and there's so much money to be made, and this whole like middleman approach, and different people. You know them. We talk about them. We're not going to call them out by names, but these GovCon grifters who are out there like, you too can be a millionaire and make your millions and go from like 25,000 to like $1 million contract like overnight. And I'm sorry, that shit just does not happen. And so it takes a lot of work. But because of that, there are some businesses who come into this industry not really thinking through what is their value proposition. What are they all about? What are their services? What makes them different? What makes them similar? You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna, like, there are very few companies out there, especially in professional services, that are different from the other companies. Like,
Oh God,
everybody does
nobody's
it
different.
this,
Oh,
no one's
what's your
different.
differentiator? Our people are amazing. Who cares? Everybody says it's their people. It's their technology. Bullshit. Nobody has a differentiation strategy, or very few people in GovCon. It's very hard, right? It's hard
It is.
to the to those folks. Here's some really harsh advice. If you're just starting your company and you haven't been in GovCon, which means you really haven't been exposed to it, you really don't know the sales cycle, and you really don't know, right? freaking go work somewhere and learn on somebody else's dime.
Dime.
Give
Hmm.
yourself years W-2 somewhere. Now, don't act unethically, don't steal things, don't go after things,
Don't
don't
poach
be,
clients. Don't, yeah.
yeah, don't be an idiot, right? Like, don't be that person, but go learn
Hmm.
and wade through the bullshit that is part of this industry. Spend a year or two, get that W-2, get PTO, get a 401k, do those nice things that you don't have when you start your company and you have no idea about, right? Like, do those things so that when you hit the ground running, you actually
Yeah.
know what you're in for and can answer those hard questions about what is it that you do and who do you do it for, right?
Right.
Because the worst thing you
Exactly.
can tell me is we can do anything and we can be, and we will work with anyone. And I'm like, oh my God, those words should strike fear in your heart because you don't know what you're doing. Nobody does can do
Yeah, those are trigger and red flag words for me, right? Like I actually went to a breakfast one time and I sat at a table and there's this one person who's just like shoving business cards like they're like shuffling cards. Okay, they were
that.
like a dealer in like Vegas or something. And I was like, "Oh, well, what do you do?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we're in IT." And I'm like, "Well, what kind of IT?" And I was, "Oh, we do it all." Like, I was like, "Okay, bullshit, red flag, I'm gonna walk away. Thanks so much for your card."
Yeah. Not even like take it back because I'm not even, you're not even going in my
To
CRM.
it back.
Sorry. But no, I think that those are triggering words almost, right? Like to the
Yeah,
point where you're just like, you're
you're an
a freaking
idiot.
idiot is like, idiot. Like I'm sorry, but like I can't even with you because I have no time because I tell you my time because I am a small business and have no time and no money, much like everybody else. And I'm like, I can't deal with your shit. Like you can do everything, no, you can't.
Yeah,
And you watched a webinar, right? Like you went to a thing. I don't know who is out there. Some of them who are promoting that like you just the money. The government's just handing out those
oh,
contracts.
yeah,
You're a veteran, you're a woman, you're an idiot. They're just handing out contracts left and right, no problem. I'm like, please, are you kidding
I
me?
know,
Do you know how
I
hard
know.
people have to work to get their first contract, to get their second contract, to like actually build? People hustle for years in this industry. And it is
Yeah,
hard. It's really freaking hard. And that's what we're not honest about. It's just how
yeah.
hard it can be.
Well, some
You
of
know?
us are really honest about it, and it's like you and me and a couple of us out there who are actually just kind of unfiltered and just being really real, like about this. And I'm not saying that there aren't great things, like great things happen in
Yeah,
GovCon. There are some really wonderful companies out there, but there's a major attrition out there for companies every year, every month. They are dropping like flies. And I think 2025 is one of those
yeah.
like anomaly years where it's going to weed out the weak, and those who come out on the other side in 2026 are going to be the best and the strongest ones that are out there. So I actually think that this is kind of a good thing that we're going through this right now. But we literally could
And if
stay
they
on this topic forever,
are,
but I want to kind of move.
yeah.
I kind of want
Sorry.
to move
Go ahead.
forward a little bit and talk about like, like behind the scenes because you kind of started uh, talking about a little bit more about the back office things and things you need to kind of consider and prepare for in order to be successful. And so let's talk a little bit about like behind the boost curtain, right? Like
Sure.
matchmaking done right. Like like how does Boost prepare their clients and teams to kind of get into the room? And what are some of the, some of the I hate the term best practices, but what are some of the things that you've seen that you've helped your customers be really successful on the other side?
So I think one of the biggest things is how does your customer buy, right? People don't understand how they get to you. I think one of the hardest things to understand, and it's crazy even to say, you might have a customer who might actually have a need that you can do and they have money, right? Like these needs, but they can't get to you. So figure out the contract vehicles. Figure out what schedules do you need to be on, right? Like GSA is the latest and greatest for everybody right now. Okay, well, that's cool. Like if that's what they need, that's what they need. what GWAX do you need to be on? How does your customer spend their money on what vehicle and how can you get on it? And that's where we can help with our contracts and procurement. It's like coming up with a strategy, right? Because nobody's getting direct awards anymore. I mean, like, when's the last time you heard a small business under 25 million getting like just, it's not a thing anymore. And so you've got to figure out how they can get the money to you. You've got to figure out, okay, does that mean you've got to subcontract under somebody and be a directed sub? Okay. Ain't too proud to cash a check, is my opinion, right? If you're a sub, you're a sub. Who cares? You're still paying the bills. So
Well,
that's more important than,
there's benefits to subbing too. Like let's be real. Like who needs the crap for priming? And I think people who are like, I got a prime, I only want a prime, I'm only going to go after prime contracts. That's egotistical. There's some arrogance behind that because they just want the privity of the contract. They just want to, say that they're the prime. But for those who are kind of inexperienced, there's a lot of responsibilities, liability, requirements, reporting. There's some
yeah,
challenges with priming that it's not always the best seat to be in.
I agree. And to answer your question about how can Boost help in those areas, it's exactly that, right? Setting you up for compliance, making sure that do you even know what a DCA approved accounting system, right? Like, do you have policies and procedures? These are not for the people who just started, right? Like, and so a lot of people in the under 5 million squad, I guess I would say, my best advice is, yeah, of course you're going to sub and get in with good people and have relationships, and they still want to see the owner. They still like to have it is all about you and your relationships, and that's how you can kind of navigate the minefield that is GovCon. As you start to grow, you're going to grow out your portfolio, right? So as you get bigger, you need more things. You need compliance more. You need to actually get your bills out on time. You need cash flow. You need, to hire the people so that all of your management plan where you say you're going to be ready on day one, like every other friggin' idiot out there, you actually are ready on day one. So because this is what the government cares about, right? You want to make sure that you can price the damn thing so you actually make money. Like, you're not here to not make money or go out of business. And when you're in kind of like T&M and firm fixed price land, there's definitely an opportunity that you could lose your shirt. So you want to make sure that you're not going to go out of business by this big win that you weren't expecting, right? Or that you priced poorly. And so that's where we help people, right? Is what's the contract strategy? How do we go after it? Like, what vehicle makes the most sense for you? How do you price it? How do you hire for it? How do you hire for it within the labor categories that you actually bid? How do you do forward pricing so that you know what the impact's going to be? What does this do to your budget? What does this do to your indirect rates? What's your wrap rate look like? Are you even competitive? Right? Because you could be out there and you've got the best company ever, but you're so damn expensive that no one will give you the contract. You won't win. There's a lot of things in play when we talk about this industry and when we talk about getting your feet wet and getting started. And these are things that you won't necessarily understand all of them when you first start. And especially if believe the hype and think that we're just handing out, contracts in the federal contracting space.
So this is like one of the things that I really love about collaborating with you is that we have overlaps, but then we have complementary type of services between all three of our companies. And so I would definitely agree that the pricing, the contracts, and the staffing are so critical, especially for the professional services type of companies, that that's like the bread and butter of like how you drive profitability and opportunities for your company. And so it is kind of a challenge to kind of balance that because I think that from a pricing perspective, um, you gave the example of like pricing yourself out and higher than like what the agency can afford. And so I would even say that a lot of times companies kind of underprice themselves. They come in so low because they don't know what to build in to the cost that is like, oh, well, here's my salary. This is, like what I pay the person. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. There's like so much more that goes beyond that. In addition to kind of building in profitability, that like that could be a whole podcast conversation in itself, right? Is like pricing buildup. But the other part too is like the contracts and being able to like really critically like evaluate, is this teaming agreement something that is going to be fair and equitable for us, and that it's not a one-sided thing, and that is something that you cannot do by yourself. You need to contact Boost or us or someone who, like, knows how to, like, stand up for you, because I think small business subs think that they have to take, any type of flow down clauses or any type of clauses and just accept them. No, you need to push back and you need to advocate for yourself on all fronts.
I 100% agree. You need to know when to push back and what's the hill you're going to die on and what do you
Yeah,
not really care, right? And so level of magnitude and what the impact is for your company. Each CEO has their own risk profile and what they will tolerate and what they won't, and you have to take that into consideration as well as your
mhm,
actual financial, right? So I can't stand it when people tell me that they're going to lowball it because they just need to win the work, right?
yeah.
And then, like, strategy has proven time and time again that strategy can absolutely tank your company, right? Because there's just not enough margins to keep it going. And so that's why pricing becomes so freaking important, and how you price it, making sure that you're calculating risk and you really understand the numbers that are going into that proposal. So I
Yeah.
think pricing is definitely, one of the key areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we literally could have a conversation about like risk and all of that and pricing and contracts, because I think that's where a lot of relationships and whatnot kind of fall apart. But let's talk about our next segment, which are some challenges. And originally, I wanted you to kind of change my mind and make me believe why these are worthwhile. But I would rather turn this conversation into a, what is in the landscape for the end of 25 and 26? Because I think a lot of us in this industry and in our little very closed network of whisper behind the um, in the background, that we're all kind of trying to make predictions as to like how things are going to turn out. So from like a teaming and a matchmaking perspective, my guess for the coming year is that we're going to see more bundling. I'm a big advocate of bundling. But I know that's not small business friendly. And being a small business advocate, I can only advocate so much. But when it comes to efficiency and the ability for the government to buy more efficiently and from an administrative perspective, I would rather manage from the government side a bigger contract than all these onesie twosie pain in the ass type of small, contracts directly. So I think small businesses really need to kind of get prepared for the fact that where you thought you were going to prime, you're going to be now in the sub role. So start, sharpening your pencils and your conversations on the whole teaming aspects. But I don't think it's going to go away. I think we need to get a little bit more sophisticated, smarter, and be prepared for it. So, what are your thoughts for end of 25 and into 26?
So I agree with you, but maybe with some more different nuances. I do think that
Okay.
there's going to be more bundling. I do think that there's a streamlined acquisition process is the goal, right? And having, 500 task orders versus, like all of that type of stuff. So I agree with that part. I also think with this administration, what I have undercover heard from, Gabbies themselves is they are not going to try to excel on their small business goals. They're going to meet them, but there's no extra goodness that
Yeah.
you expect past them. So agencies are just going to be held to their, kind of the lowest standard. They're going to meet those goals, and then anything above and beyond that goes to large. So I think that small businesses have to wisen up. No, suck it up, Buttercup. Right? It's where the industry is today and this year and this next year and a half is find those primes that you trust, find the primes that you want to do business with, that want to do business with you. That's where teaming comes even more into play. And I really do believe that. I am a small business myself. I advocate for small businesses. I love small businesses. I believe they are the heart of this country and are, where all the goodness is. And this hurts my heart to say that. But the other thing is you got to keep the doors open, right? You got to
Yep.
pay your people. You got to continue marching on no matter what's going on, right? So we press forward. So what does this mean? Go find more teaming partners. Go find the mid tiers. Go find a hungry, agile mid tier who's
Yep.
going after and looking at the big guys. Go find a non-traditional. Go find your Silicon Valley folks. Go find a technology company that doesn't know GovCon that you know, right? Go find kind of like the different type of teaming partners that you may not have thought about before. And that's where you'll see the benefit.
Yeah. So where do you see from a large business perspective? Are we going to see subcontracting goals from the large businesses, in the realms of 30%, or we're going to see less small business subcontracting? Where are the largest going to go? Because the subcontracting requirements are not going to go away for large contracts.
They're not
But the
going to go away.
percentages and how open they are to subbing may.
Are they being monitored? Who's
Well,
minding the store?
yeah, they say that they are, and
Now,
they say
what's
that
on
there
paper
wants to
in
be
reality
more.
is a very different thing. Reality versus what's on paper. Personal opinion is they've lost some big contracts themselves. They're going to maintain as much of their DL as they can, and they're going
Yep.
to sub out what they have to.
Yep. So I think it's going to be bare minimum for largest too. Um,
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go
so
the extra mile. I don't think they have to, and they're not incentivized to.
yeah,
But
they
should you?
don't because there's no consequence. You know what I mean? What is a consequence? A subcontracting goal is a goal. It's, their plan to meet a requirement, but they don't have to. And again, there's no penalties for it. So
I think it comes down to what your offering is, right? Your offering is becoming more and more important because they can't build it, right? They're expensive. They can't do it. So they will subcontract when you've got an offering that the government wants.
fair enough.
And I think that's where your technology does come into play, right? The differentiation strategy and what is the offer at a price that's somewhat reasonable.
It all comes down to money. Comes down to money,
It does come down to money. I'm sorry, but welcome to the world, right? So,
right?
I mean, it does.
Exactly.
What's the is there a budget, and are they spending it, and are you pricing it at a place where you can actually still make money?
I might actually have to rename my podcast just for this episode, Ton and Stephanie's 2 cents, because it's, you get two for the price of one here.
BOGO, right? Buy one get one free.
Yeah, exactly. It's a BOGO. So, key takeaways as we wrap up today's episode on matchmaking sessions, I would say, is be strategic, have a plan, show up with your plan, do your homework, y'all. It's also not about the instant wins, right? You're playing the long game here. You're just looking to get one foot in the door, maybe a second date, maybe a better second date, maybe it's coffee first, and then dinner later, right? So definitely play the long game here. Following up is really really critical, but knowing what your value is that you bring to the table. And what I've learned today is that not every session is created equal. Look at that, I can learn new
Look at
things. And
that.
yes, you did
Change.
change my mind a little bit. So what are some last
If you
parting
weren't
takeaways?
promoting that all over social media that I have made you change your mind, that is the key takeaway, everyone. That.
I am not proud. I will say that. I will publicly go out there and blast it all over LinkedIn. It's definitely changed my mind. I no longer detest matchmaking.
Just bad matchmaking. You detest bad matchmaking.
Bad matchmaking. There you go.
So we both won.
There we go. And so this wraps up our episode on matchmaking sessions. Subscribe to Ton's 2 Cents podcast and listen to us new episode every Wednesday for real GovCon talk. So thanks, Stephanie, for joining us here today. And you're always welcome to come back and share unfiltered insights again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always. And thanks, Intellectuals, for listening here today. Remember, you have to think big to win big. Be an intellectual. And until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of possibilities.